These are the new green iPhone 13s. Apple released a new color for both the standard and the Pro model this year, and despite both of them being green, they do look pretty different from one another. On the standard model, Apple isn't giving it a fancy name, it's just called green, and inside of the box, Apple is saving themselves a little green by not including anything but your typical documentation and a USB-C cable. But here is the green iPhone 13, and to be perfectly honest, I'm not really feeling this one. I mean, it looks good enough when light hits it directly, especially on that color-matched aluminum frame, but in most other lighting conditions, the phone just seems a little too dark on the rear glass, where it just doesn't pop the same way that some of the other colors do. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of green to begin with, and as always, you've got to hand it to Apple for the attention to detail. The box the phone came in has green elements even on the Apple logo and the iPhone text, and inside of the phone, even the SIM tray is color matched. But there you go, it's the iPhone 13, but in green. Now, with the iPhone 13 Pro, it's different. Apple is calling this variant Alpine Green instead of just regular green, and this one I like. The color just pops more with it being lighter, and while the stainless steel frame is technically green, it's so subtle that it almost looks silver when it isn't under direct light. Now, one thing I did notice when looking at these two phones side by side is they're basically inverses of one another, where the camera housing on the iPhone 13 has a matte finish that looks pretty similar to the back of the 13 Pro, and the camera housing on the 13 Pro looking almost identical to the green back on the regular iPhone 13, which is interesting, I guess. Now, like I said, I prefer the look of the iPhone 13 Pro, but it's totally subjective. These are just color variants after all, and honestly, if it wasn't an Apple product, most people wouldn't really care since it is midway through the phone's cycle. But people do care. Apple's really the only company that can pull this off, so we made this video. Hopefully you liked it, and if you did, consider subscribing for our other videos where we actually talk about something more interesting than just a new color.